I am at home. Fear is the stranger here. Here we go, bro. Workbook Lesson 160. I am at home. Fear is the stranger here. We're going to read it, and then we're going to talk about each paragraph. So here we go. Fear is a stranger to the ways of love. Identify with fear, and you will be a stranger to yourself. And thus you are unknown to you. What is yourself remains an alien to the part of you which thinks that it is real, but different from yourself. Who could be sane in such a circumstance? Who but a madman could believe he is what he is not and judge against himself? Paragraph 2. There is a stranger in our midst who comes from an idea so foreign to the truth. He speaks a different language, looks upon a world truth does not know, and understands what truth regards as senseless. Stranger yet, he does not recognize to whom he comes, and yet maintains his home belongs to him, while he is alien now who is at home. And yet how easy it would be to say, "This is my home, here I belong, and will not leave because a madman says I must." Paragraph 3. What reason is there for not saying this? What could the reason be except that you had asked this stranger in to take your place and let you be a stranger to yourself? No one would let himself be dispossessed so needlessly unless he thought there was another home more suited to his tastes. Paragraph 4. Who is the stranger? Is it fear or you who are unsuited to the home which God provided for his Son? Is fear his own, created in his likeness? Is it fear that love completes and is completed by? There is no home can shelter love and fear. They cannot coexist. If you are real, then fear must be illusion. And if fear is real, then you do not exist at all. Paragraph 5. How simply then the question is resolved. Who fears has but denied himself and said, quote, "I am the stranger here, and so I leave my home to one more like me than myself, and give him all I thought belonged to me," unquote. Now is he exiled of necessity, not knowing who he is, uncertain of all things but this, that he is not himself, and that his home has been denied to him. Paragraph 6. What does he search for now? What can he find? A stranger to himself can find no home wherever he may look, for he has made return impossible. His way is lost, except a miracle will search him out and show him that he is no stranger now. The miracle will come, for in his home his self remains. It asked no stranger in, and took no alien thought to be itself. And it will call its own unto itself in recognition of what is its own. Paragraph 7. Who is the stranger? Is he not the one yourself calls not? You are unable now to recognize the stranger in your midst, for you have given him your rightful place. Yet is yourself as certain of its own as God is of his Son. He cannot be confused about creation. He is sure of what belongs to him. No stranger can be interposed between his knowledge and his Son's reality. He does not know of strangers. He is certain of his Son. Paragraph 8. God's certainty suffices. Who he knows to be his Son belongs where he has set his Son forever. He has answered, and you ask, quote, "Who is the stranger?" unquote. Hear his voice assure you, quietly and sure, that you are not a stranger to your Father, nor is your Creator stranger made to you. Whom God has joined remain forever one, at home in him, no stranger to himself. Paragraph 9. Today we offer thanks that Christ has come to search the world for what belongs to him. His vision sees no strangers, but beholds his own and joyously unites with them. They see him as a stranger, for they do not recognize themselves. Yet as they give him welcome, they remember, and he leads them gently home again, where they belong. Paragraph 10. Not one does Christ forget. Not one he fails to give you to remember, that your home may be complete and perfect as it was established. He has not forgotten you, but you will not remember him until you look on all as he does. Who denies his brother is denying him, and thus refusing to accept the gift of sight by which his self is clearly recognized, his home remembered, and salvation come. Okay. Beautiful lesson. Once again, they're all beautiful. I am at home. Fear is the stranger here. It's a very profound statement. And it's really just about, this is all about, once again, what are we doing? We're separating out what is false from what is true. Our true self has never changed, right? This is the bedrock principle of A Course in Miracles. Our true self has never changed. I am still as God created me. We all are still as God created us. That has never changed. That can never change. If we act or think or speak in ways that are not in accordance with that, we become a stranger to ourself, right? We become a stranger to our true reality. And so there seems to be a separation. There seems to be a division. In reality, there isn't, but there seems to be, right? There seems to be a shadow has now gained a hearing, right? A shadow has gained a hearing. A shadow has interposed itself between you and your reality, or a cloud, right? It's very wispy. It's really insubstantial, but it seems to be when you're misidentifying. Most of the time, we're not even aware of that until we have a teaching like this one that helps us to understand that we have been misidentifying, that we have been identifying with our false self, or a false sense of self, rather than our true self. And this whole course is here to help us to fully recognize our true self and to let go of the false self, which is really only bringing suffering, right? Bringing unhappiness, misery, suffering, pain, all the things that go with that. So let's read it. Let's read this, and we'll talk about each paragraph as we go. Fear is a stranger to the ways of love. Identify with fear, and you will be a stranger to yourself, and thus you are unknown to you. What is yourself remains an alien to the part of you which thinks that it is real, but different from yourself. Who could be sane in such a circumstance? Who but a madman could believe he is what he is not and judge against himself? Right, so this is madness. To believe, to identify with fear, to make fear, to identify with fear, and thus to become a stranger to ourselves. So another way to put what the Course is doing is, it's separating out the false from the true, but it's also what is fear, what is of fear from what is of love. Until you identify only with love, right? And until all of your decisions are based in love and not in fear. Until that happens, we are a stranger, right, to ourselves. We don't really know ourselves. We can't know ourselves. Paragraph 2, there is a stranger in our midst who comes from an idea so foreign to the truth, he speaks a different language, looks upon a world truth does not know, and understands what truth regards as senseless. Stranger yet, he does not recognize to whom he comes, and yet maintains his home belongs to him, while he is alien now who is at home. And yet how easy it would be to say, quote, "This is my home, here I belong, and will not leave because a madman says I must." Okay, so it's very easy to just say, a madman has come into our home and said to us, "This is my home," but not really, because the madman in a way is not even in the home. If the madman was in the home, then the madman wouldn't be mad, right? The madman is the madman has put put himself in our midst, you could say the stranger in our midst is those of us who are at home in God. Suddenly there's a stranger, there's a madman, right? There's someone who is like, I want to be separate. I want to be, I want to be limited. I want to be an individual. I want to have all of these emotions and have all of these and live according to the world's laws. Because I want to play that game. I want to play. Jesus is saying very clearly, this is the stranger. This is the madman, who speaks like this. And he now looks at himself. The madman looks at himself or herself as the authority and as the sole authority, right? And that's really one of the other central issues of the Course is what Jesus calls the authority problem, meaning that we all who identify with our ego, we all think that we were self-created, that we created ourselves, and that we are our own authority. Whereas Jesus says, no, there's an authority above you, right? You did not create God. God created you, right? So, so we'll go on. Paragraph 3. What reason is there for not saying this? What could the reason be except that you would ask this stranger in to take your place and let you be a stranger to yourself? So in other words, that you have chosen this, right? Why are you not saying, this is my home, here I belong, will not leave because the madman says I must? Why are we not saying that? Well, we're not saying that because we have chosen to be a stranger to ourselves. We have chosen to play this game of separation. No one would let himself be dispossessed so needlessly unless he thought there was another home more suited to his tastes. In other words, this is what we want, right? We want this game of separation. We want to be an individual. We want to have our freedom, quote unquote freedom. We want to have our quote unquote autonomy. We want to have a separate existence where we can be a separate being among many other separate beings, and that is the game we're playing, right? And that is what we want. Paragraph 4. Who is the stranger? Is it fear or you who are unsuited to the home which God provided for his Son? Is fear his own, created in his likeness? In other words, did God create fear? Right? Who is the one that God created in God's likeness? Is it fear that love completes and is completed by? There is no home. These are rhetorical questions that Jesus is asking. He's just saying, did God create fear? Is God the author of fear? Is fear God's son? There is no home can shelter love and fear. They cannot coexist. If you are real, then fear must be the illusion. And if fear is real, then you do not exist at all. So only one of those can be true. Only love can be true or fear. They cannot both be true. Right? So either one of them has to be the stranger. Either love is the stranger or fear is the stranger. Jesus is obviously saying the fear is, right? Paragraph 5. How simply then the question is resolved. Who fears has but denied himself and said, quote, I am the stranger here. And so I leave my home to one more like me than myself and give him all I thought belonged to me. Now is he exiled of necessity, not knowing who he is, uncertain of all things but this, that he is not himself and that his home has been denied to him. So, whenever we follow the way of fear, you could say, or whenever we choose fear, or choose separation, choose to be that separate being that has its own autonomy and its own authority, we are choosing to be a stranger to our true self, right? We are choosing to not understand reality, in other words. Paragraph 6. What does he search for now? What can he find? A stranger to himself can find no home wherever he may look, for he has made return impossible. His way is lost, except a miracle will search him out and show him that he is no stranger now. The miracle will come, for in his home his self remains. It asked no stranger in, and took no alien thought to be itself. And it will call its own unto itself in recognition of what is its own. So, this paragraph is getting at another major theme in the course, which is that however far you may roam from the truth, you're not too far from home, really. You're never too far from home. And the miracle will come. Even if you really lock yourself out of your own home, something will come with a key to help you find your way back again, right? Or in other words, there's always going to come a point at which you say, this can't be right. I heard this great song by Jesse Wells. He's a great singer-songwriter that just became very, very popular. You can check him out on YouTube. He's got a song called "This Can't Be Right," or "There's Got to Be a Better Way," right? Or either one of those. This can't be right. There's got to be a better way. We get to that point. It's a turning point where we say, my life is. This can't be what it is, right? I can't be, there's got to be something that I'm missing, right? There's got to be something that is really, there's something rotten in the state of Denmark, as Shakespeare said, right? There's something wrong with this picture. How can we make this picture right now? And that's where the miracle comes in. The miracle is anything that shows you back to your true self, to your true home, right? So it almost seems impossible when you get to that point. It's like, how could I ever get out of this hell? And the miracle can not only bring you out, but show you very quickly, if you're open to it, how easy it is, right? Just to say, that's not what I am, right? I am not the stranger. I am not the one who believes in fear. I'm the one that knows that love is the only reality. Fear does not exist. Fear is not even a thing in my reality anymore, right? I do not need to live in fear in any regard whatsoever. Paragraph 7, who is the stranger? Is he not the one yourself calls not? You are unable now to recognize this stranger in your midst, for you have given him your rightful place, yet is yourself as certain of its own as God is of his Son. He cannot be confused about creation. He is sure of what belongs to him. So God is sure, right? We are not sure. We're still in doubt. But God is sure of his creation. No stranger can be interposed between his knowledge and his Son's reality. That means that God has never changed. We have never changed. God and God's creations have never changed. It may look that way, right? It may seem that way, but it's impossible. And that is what Jesus calls the atonement principle. He does not know of strangers. He is certain of his Son. Right? So the only certainty we need to rely on is the certainty that we're God's Son. And God, whatever God created, is perfect love. And that perfection has no opposite, right? Fear does not exist. The ego is not a reality in any way, shape, or form. Paragraph 8. God's certainty suffices. Who he knows to be his Son belongs where he has set his Son forever. He has answered you who ask, who is the stranger? In quotations, who is the stranger? Hear his voice assure you quietly and sure that you are not a stranger to your Father, nor is your Creator stranger made to you. whom God has joined remain forever one, at home in him, no stranger to himself. So there's a line earlier in the text. This is the workbook. In the text it says, you are at home in God dreaming of exile, right? We are at home in God dreaming of exile. We have always been at home, right? Our true self has never changed. And so that part of ourself which is still there in ourself, which Jesus calls the Holy Spirit, or our higher self, can help to show us where we have gone astray, right? And help lead us out of that estrayment or astrayness, right? Lead us from being a lost soul to being a found soul once again, right? All you need is to take that certainty, right? Is to trust that in that certainty, and trust that certainty is trustworthy. And the trust is our biggest problem, right? We do not trust this completely. If we trusted the Course completely, we would be all the way there. Who here does not have any fear? I don't know if there are many people that really can honestly say that they don't have any fear. But perfect certainty, perfect faith is no fear, right? No fear whatsoever. Paragraph 9. Today we offer thanks that Christ has come to search the world for what belongs to him. His vision sees no strangers, but beholds his own and joyously unites with them. They see him as a stranger, for they do not recognize themselves. So Christ is not welcome in the midst of those who have become strangers to themselves. Why? Because he is seen to be a threat, right? He now is coming to threaten the egoic framework, and that is not very welcome to those who are enmeshed in the egoic framework or the egoic thought system. Yet as they give him welcome, they remember. So to the extent to which you give Christ welcome, you will remember your true self. And he leads them gently home again where they belong. So Christ is not the enemy, right? The stranger that you have taken to be your real self is not an enemy either, but is in the way, right? So you want to show the stranger the door, basically. And you do that in the nicest possible way, right? You don't have to destroy your ego. You don't have to kill your ego or destroy your ego. You just gently say no. That's not true. That's not real. And I do not accept that anymore. I accept only, and you don't even have to use a negative. You can just say, I accept only love. That is my only reality. Nothing else is true. Paragraph 10. Not one does Christ forget. Not one he fails to give you to remember, that your home may be complete and perfect as it was established. He has not forgotten you, but you will not remember him. This is maybe the most important sentence. But you will not remember him until you look on all as he does. Who denies his brother is denying him, and thus refusing to accept the gift of sight by which his self is clearly recognized, his home remembered, and salvation come. So we cannot remember God, Christ, as long as we do not do as they do, right? We cannot understand Christ until we become Christ. How does Christ see everything? Christ sees everything with equal vision. Christ sees everything with complete non-judgment, no fear, just a calm and certain knowing, and nothing can get in the way of that, right? And so whenever we get into the fear and into the judgment of others, we have departed from that, and that's okay. If that's not a sin, that's simply a mistake. Right? This is all where we are as being the stranger. It's all a case of mistaken identity, right? A mistake is not a sin. a mistake can be corrected, and we might need to correct our mistakes many times before we really learn the lesson that is being shared here. And that's okay, right? That as many times as we need to. A lot of people are okay with going in circles, right? Or, doing the same thing over and over again. We all do that to some extent. But in this case, what we're talking about here is we do want to break the cycle. If you want to be free, if you want to know yourself, if you want to know love, unconditional love, then, and you want to know the mind of God, so to speak, then you want to break the cycle. You want to break the cycle of forgetting and to choose fear, choose love rather than fear. So we keep forgetting that is what we really want. We keep making the mistake again and again of judgment, of creating separation, creating division. And there's a brother who was been writing recently on this channel, writing some comments, and A Course in Miracles is saying the same thing that you've been saying in your comments, which is there is in God there is no division, right? There's no separation possible. There's only complete unity, complete wholeness, complete perfect oneness. The division is only in our minds. The division is only apparent and is only due to this, to our desire to be separate, right? Because we want to be separate, we almost by necessity have to see separation because that's what we have chosen. But but to the extent that to which we are choosing to see unity, harmony, oneness, wholeness, then that is what we will see. Even in the midst of the duality, of the separation, that is what we will see. We will not see problems, where there are not problems. We will not see issues. We will not see division. Even though there may be division on the surface, we will not see it that way. And that's and in that we will end our suffering, right? Even in the midst of the world, even while living here in a body in the world, apparently, we will free ourselves from suffering. And that's what this is all about, right? This is all about freeing yourself from suffering, from your own self-imposed exile, right? From being a stranger in a strange land, in your own homeland, right? Right? So I don't think this is saying, if you're listening to this video, this is not saying anything that different than what you've been saying. This is the same thing. It's just a different way, maybe different language than what you would use in how you would express it. But this is a very profound, what we're reading here is not something I've written. This is, in a way, we all wrote this. I wouldn't take personal credit for it. But this is called A Course in Miracles. This is a writing that was scribed, came through a woman in the mid-60s named Helen Schuckman. And it's a profound document. It's some have considered to be, including myself, is one of the most important writings that has come through, definitely in modern times, and maybe throughout all of human history. And I think this is very worthy of study and very worthy of our consideration and practice. So anyway, with that said, hope this was helpful, and lesson 161 is next. Give me your blessing, Holy Son of God. Let me just add one little thing, which is I've been doing these talks about how to translate the Bhagavad Gita, and we did this one verse in the Gita that talks about how you can become an enemy. Yourself can be your enemy, or yourself can be your friend. Now, I don't know if Jesus actually does use that language sometimes. He uses it in the text. He doesn't use it here so much, but he does use the imagery of warfare. He uses the imagery or the symbols of the friend and the enemy. Again, that's only apparent. Your true self can never be an enemy or a friend, right? Your true self just is. Your true self is total love. A love without any opposite. So friend and enemy does not make any sense. Those are concepts that would not make any sense in that love, right? In the self which includes all. But from the perspective of someone who is in duality, that idea can be helpful, right? To say that yourself can be a friend and yourself can be an enemy, yeah, that you can understand it that way, because we can definitely, if we are choosing fear and we're choosing negativity and we're choosing divisiveness and we're choosing anger, hatred, and all the things that we might consider to be not conducive to our highest and greatest good, then we are fighting ourselves. We're at war with ourselves. And to the extent that we are going towards that love, that love for all, and that love that brings everyone together, then we are then our self is our friend, right? And you can definitely understand things that way, and I think that is helpful. That can be helpful. Maybe not helpful for every single person, right? That idea, but some will find it helpful, others might not. But don't knock it, because it is it could work. Depends how you look at it, right? So anyway, lesson 161 is next. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Adios. See you soon.